And a good Wednesday morning to you. It is First Alert Meteorologist Isaac Williams here with an update on what we are expecting for this upcoming weekend. Everybody is talking about this winter storm that's going to impact millions of people, not just here in Georgia, but all across the southeast. I'm going to show you where the winter storm watches are in effect and the latest on what we're expecting here locally in metro Atlanta and across the state. So the timeline for this is Saturday afternoon into Sunday night. Some precip could start Saturday morning, but I'm expecting the heaviest icing concerns to settle in Saturday afternoon into about midday Sunday morning or midday Sunday. And then by Sunday night, the precip is expected to start to fizzle out, but we're looking at impacts lingering into Monday of next week as well. So rain, freezing rain, and ice are the precipitation types we're looking at. Notice you do not see snow in there. We are not really expecting a lot of snow in North Georgia or metro Atlanta. Having said that, freezing rain and ice can be very tricky with travel. So we are still expecting major travel impacts as well as the possibility of some power outages. We want you to get ready for the possibility of having some very significant impacts from travel and power. For the probabilities, we're looking at about a 54% chance of a quarter inch of ice or more falling in metro Atlanta. So what that means is liquid rain falls and adds up to a quarter of an inch, which doesn't seem like that much, but if you have a quarter inch of ice on any surface, it becomes very slick, it becomes very icy, and it becomes very dangerous. Notice that percentage does drop off a bit to the south and west. If you live in LaGrange, for now, things are trending a little bit better for you in that it may stay a cold rain. For metro Atlanta, I'm very much still expecting several hours of heavy ice potential here. If you live up in Gainesville and Athens, you're in a little bit more position to see heavy rain and ice unfold Saturday into Sunday. And of course, up in the Georgia mountains, the potential is pretty high as well to see additional icing concerns. I want to look at the potential for half inch of ice. And we've got about a 46% chance of that happening in Atlanta, which a half an inch of ice gets into that really dangerous territory from a perspective of travel and power outages. Notice that percentage is just 8 in LaGrange. So if you live in LaGrange, Troup, Meriwether counties, don't let your guard down. We still could very well see icing issues all across the region. But if you live south and west of the city, it does look like the icing potential is just a little bit lower at this point. But again, we are very much still in the thick of it here in the city and up to the north and east. Gainesville seems to be kind of the hot spot right now for a very, very significant ice storm, although we are still expecting, again, heavy impacts to the city of Atlanta. So as we look at that quarter inch to half inch differentiation, so a glaze up to a quarter of an inch is still disruptive, it's still dangerous, but we're really looking at that kind of impacting bridges and overpasses for the most part, and not much tree damage, very little power outages. That is the best case scenario. Right now we're kind of looking at that significant range of a quarter up to a half an inch of ice across most of North Georgia, including Atlanta, which means that the tree branches will begin to lean, sag, some of them breaking, some tree actually could come down. Scattered power outages, definitely a possibility, and very dangerous travel. Somewhere in North Georgia, we'll probably get more than a half an inch of ice, which is going to be the worst case and worst impacts in terms of tree and power line damage. That could be the type of ice that locks your power out for a while. It could also mean that travel could be disrupted for longer the more ice that we get. Again, the best case scenario is that we stay closer to that quarter inch or less. I'm saying that's fairly unlikely at this point still. It does look like we are still in very prime position potentially to see possible ice storm level type ice in North Georgia and the city. So the timing here, this is the European model. So the overnight run of the European model trended a little bit warmer for Sunday. I want to show you what I'm mentioning here. So Saturday during the day, we start off with some rain early that transitions over into freezing rain and sleet across North Georgia, and that settles in overnight. Notice this does include all of the metro pretty much and all of northeast Georgia. This does last through Sunday morning, but then this model brings in rain area-wide. I don't think that is necessarily super likely at this point, but I do think that there is some credence to this idea and that we might get a little bit of a sliver of warmer air by Sunday during the day to maybe change the freezing rain back to just a cold rain. And that would be encouraging, not necessarily the best, because if we do get additional rain, the temperatures will fall below freezing again Sunday night. And if we do get a little bit of melting, it is going to refreeze because the temperatures are going to plummet into early next week. And we're looking at, again, a longer duration type cold setting up early next week. This is the American model. It is colder and more aggressive with the winter precip, and so we still see that starting off with scattered rain Saturday morning, but even by Saturday afternoon, the freezing rain begins to settle in, and then we are looking at an extended duration of freezing rain, 12 plus hours of potentially heavy freezing rain that will add up very quickly, and that's the reason that we're concerned with significant issues arising. So this is Sunday morning. Notice over toward Birmingham, they have that warm nose, so that is just a miserable cold rain over in Birmingham Sunday morning, and that tries to work into North Georgia by Sunday afternoon. But notice a good portion of the state, or our viewing area, is still in the pink. Notice though, Troup and Meriwether counties, they are kind of closer to that line of green to pink, which means they would be in a little bit more position to see more of a chilly cold rain than we would see up to the north and east. Again, if you live south and west of the city, chances of seeing some chillier rain settle in instead of ice Sunday are looking a little better. If you live in the city or Gainesville, northeast Georgia, we're probably going to be in the ice for, again, 12 plus hours, if not longer than that. We do see all of the precip begin to wind down Sunday night. But again, as I mentioned, we are going to be very cold into next week, and we're looking at temperatures in the teens by Monday night, and we're not getting above freezing much during the day Monday either. So in terms of the travel and in terms of what we're still kind of advising at this point, Friday's travel is okay. Last-minute stuff, last-minute errands, Saturday morning, and then by Saturday afternoon, you need to kind of be where you want to be for the rest of the weekend, because we still are not advising travel on Sunday, in that we still expect kind of the worst of the impacts kind of carrying over from Saturday night and certainly lasting through Sunday most of the day. Even if we get a little bit of that warm nose Sunday afternoon, I think the melting will be fairly limited, and then whatever does melt will refreeze Sunday night. When we get to the 7-day coming up here, I will take a look here. So we've got some people chiming in here. I want to address some questions. So when does the ice melt? Tuesday or Wednesday or later? That's going to depend on exactly how much falls. Obviously, the higher ice totals are going to take longer to melt. So that's something to consider, but we are forecasting cold weather for the entire week. So some of the shaded areas and maybe some of the hardest hit spots in northeast Georgia may see those impacts linger past Monday or Tuesday. GFS is, one of the models that we use, yes. Another person is saying the chance of snow and ice is out of the picture. So the chance of snow is very much decreasing, but the chance of ice is very much still at play, with the possibility of extreme impacts across North Georgia. So that's what we're looking at. Again, when we hear winter storm and we hear the word winter storm words, people automatically think snow, but this is not a snow setup. It does not look like it is going to trend toward a snow setup at this point. But we have 4 days left, really, before this event starts, and things can still change. And this is the reason that we're giving you constant updates here on Atlanta News First Plus, our First Alert weather app, online, on television. We've got you covered from every angle. So if there are any other questions, I'm watching here our YouTube stream. We can answer some more of those. Is there a chance that the model shift back south? Yes, the European model could definitely shift south again. The American model has not really moved. I looked at the brand new data right before I walked out here, and it still shows quite a significant ice storm coming in. Do we think we'll go into a winter storm watch tonight? Yes, I do think that the Weather Service will be issuing a winter storm watch for parts of North Georgia this afternoon for this upcoming weekend. And we should have that decision probably about 2-ish, 3 o'clock or so this afternoon. We may have a first guess on which counties they may put into that winter storm watch. Athens, 7 o'clock to 11 o'clock Saturday night. Yes, I would say very treacherous travel is pretty much expected there, so that's something to keep in mind. Again, I'm going to watch more questions. We're going to continue kind of going through some of the graphics with you. In terms of snow totals, I mentioned, notice how there's hardly any snow anywhere in Georgia with this event. So things have trended warmer, and when we say warmer, I'm going to go through the precipitation types too in a minute. But we're looking at snow being most likely in Tennessee, maybe even north of I-40, north of Nashville, and definitely into Kentucky. That's where some of the higher snow totals will be. But no snow expected, or very, very little snow expected in Georgia at this point. So we're looking at, again, freezing rain and sleet to be the primary precipitation type. So the overall weather setup really hasn't changed all that much. We have high pressure to the north, lots of Pacific and Gulf moisture coming in from the west, and basically we see a winter storm unfold Friday and early Saturday to our west, and that pushes into Saturday night into Sunday afternoon, and then we see this entire system shifts off to the east. The wild card is this little warm nose coming in Sunday and the wedge of cold air. It's basically going to be a battle between which is stronger. Experience usually tells me that the wedge would win out and the cold will last a little longer. But again, models have trended a little warmer Sunday afternoon, so we'll see if that trend holds or if we see it flip-flop back to a colder scenario, which is what the American model shows right now. So that's kind of the overall setup that we're looking at here. In terms of radar this morning, we actually have some showers out in the Mississippi River area down toward Memphis and into Louisiana just west of Jackson. This is the rain that's coming up later today and tonight. This has nothing to do with the weekend winter storm, so that's some good news. But showers are definitely a possibility this evening. As we take a broader view across the southeast, we have some snow showers up in the Great Lakes. That's going to continue moving off to the east. A trailing cold front is going to bring us some scattered rain starting tonight through the end of the week, and then we are going to see the chance, again, of that winter storm increasing for the weekend. But again, this lead system here is really kind of putting the first moisture in place to lead up to that winter storm potential for Saturday and Sunday. So that's kind of where we stand with current conditions. This is a look at the winter storm watch that has been issued. So right now we have winter storm watches up from Albuquerque, New Mexico, over to the Alabama-Georgia border. That does include Cherokee County. None of our counties included just yet. This does include Nashville, Huntsville, Memphis, Little Rock, Mississippi, Little Rock, Arkansas, Shreveport, Louisiana, Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, most of North Texas, in fact, in this winter storm watch. And again, we are going to see that winter storm watch expand eastward through the course of the day today to kind of gear up for this coming weekend. So that's where the winter storm watch is currently. And again, more counties will be added. A viewer had asked earlier about a winter storm watch in Georgia. And again, the Weather Service has indicated they will most likely issue one later today. But we don't know exactly which counties, of course, they'll include just yet. But we, of course, will let you know as soon as they issue that watch a little later on this afternoon. I'm going to go over the precipitation types and why we are looking at mostly a freezing rain ice event and not a snow event coming up after this very short break. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to Atlanta News First Plus. Isaac still with you. So I want to go over the precipitation types and the differences between those. So we are looking at the right-hand side of the screen. You see snow. So where the snow is made in the cloud all the way down to the Earth's surface, the temperature has to be below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So we don't have that set up here this time around. We have some warm air off the ground coming in, and basically the depth of the warm air dictates what precipitation type we get. So obviously, if we have lots and lots of warm air, we have just rain. We're really not expecting that either. We are looking at a mixture between freezing rain and sleet. So basically what happens is, for freezing rain, a snowflake falls into a deep layer of warm air, and that warm air could be relative. It could be just 5 degrees, Celsius, or 40 degrees Fahrenheit, nothing too crazy warm, but basically it melts the snowflake, and then right when it gets to the Earth's surface, it encounters air that might be 28 degrees, and then it just freezes instantly. So when we talk about freezing rain, that is actually liquid rain falling that freezes on contact. When you talk about sleet, that cold air off the ground is a little bit deeper, and so basically what happens is the snowflake falls, partially melts, and then refreezes into an ice pellet, and that's the difference between freezing rain and sleet. So that's what we're looking at going into, not tomorrow, the weekend, is that we're looking at rain, freezing rain, and sleet to be the 3 precipitation types. Again, I am not expecting much, if any, snowfall, even in the Georgia mountains. That looks to be very unlikely at this point. We're going to see scattered rain continue tonight and through most of tomorrow, but again, this has nothing to do with the weekend system, but just be aware that some scattered rain will be around tonight, tomorrow, and Friday to get us into this upcoming weekend, and that's when things will probably start to go downhill Saturday morning, and we will be with you every step of the way here on ANF Plus, on television, and inside the First Alert Weather app. Speaking of, if you do not have the First Alert Weather app yet, I want to bring in First Alert meteorologist Rodney Harris with the step-by-step instruction on how to get the First Alert Weather app.
First Alert meteorologist Rodney Harris. We're always asking you to download the app to stay up to date with our weather. So I want to walk you through some things that may be helpful for you this week as we get closer to this first alert over the upcoming weekend. I want to start by reminding you, you can always access your hourly forecast, your daily forecast, and the radar at the bottom of the screen, also getting back to the home page. But what I really want to focus on today is the video. Every time we send you a push alert with video, it's always going to appear at the top of the weather app. The most recent video is the very first thing you'll see. But don't forget that we do multiple videos throughout the day, and sometimes we do videos that we keep up for multiple days if we want you to always have access to it. So you can scroll to your left to access any video that we've recorded for you for the First Alert Weather app. We usually do more long-form videos to really walk you through what we're expecting for the weekend, so don't forget about that. Also want to make sure that you know that in addition to these videos that we record, you can actually watch our newscast live from inside the First Alert Weather app. Just scroll down past the radar and the hourly forecast, and you'll see a section that says live video. When you click on that section, it'll take you to this page where you can watch our newscast, every single newscast we do live, and that's not only the case throughout the course of the week, but when we have weather events. So for example, if you lose power, which we obviously don't want to happen, you can still access us by watching those newscasts from the First Alert Weather app. We're going to continue to walk you through a lot of the different things you can do in this app throughout the course of the week. And you can also always find your forecast right here in the First Alert Weather app.
sure that they're prepared for the weekend. We here at Atlanta News First want to make sure that you have the information you need to get ready. So now, as we continue to talk about the weekend weather, it is the time for you to get prepared. Prepare your home, prepare yourself, have conversations with your family. That is what we're focused on. And joining me now is Atlanta News First and Niamani Watson, live from Buckhead. Niamani.
Yeah, so we've been talking with shoppers who say they are not waiting to the last minute. They say they have learned from previous winter storms. So we spoke with a couple of shoppers at Kroger early this morning. One woman says she was stocking up on canned goods, that she plans to make a big pot of soup and stay warm. Another woman says she's stocking up on flashlights, batteries, other essential items, and things to entertain her family since the kids will most likely be home during this storm on the weekend. So, yeah, a lot of shoppers are trying to get ahead of the big crowds or the condition is worsening and getting some essential items before this potential storm.
Niamani, I know the word is starting to get out that this winter event is happening. We were talking about in the newsroom how some folks didn't even know about this weather event. Have you gotten some of those conversations?
I actually have not. I have not. I've ran into people, surprisingly, who say, we've been watching the news. We know that this um, potential severe weather is very likely. Like I said, they've learned from previous storms from last year when two winter storms blanketed Atlanta, the Snowmageddon in 2014. I actually spoke with a lady who says she was stuck on I-20 for 6 hours because she was not aware during that time and decided to go out and go to a party. But she says this weekend she is staying home. She is staying off of the roads.
Yeah, it's a good thing that it is the weekend. It is an opportunity for many folks who don't have to go into work to stay inside. Any conversations around making sure that you are safe inside the home? I know we talk about heat going wrong sometimes in the winter seasons. Anything that you've heard?
Well, some people have said that they are making sure they have a generator, making sure all of their devices are charged in case the power does go out, having warm blankets and clothing. But of course, the wintertime, it's common for fires where people try to stay warm. So officials say if you do have a space heater, to make sure it is properly ventilated to prevent any of those fires from happening.
And Niamani, we report on these, we get everybody prepared, but we ourselves are also getting prepared. Anything that you're doing as you're talking to folks and getting ideas on how they are getting ready for the weekend?
Oh, for sure. My mom called me the other day. She was like, make sure you stock up on groceries, canned goods, non perishable items, water. The Red Cross, it says 1 gallon of water per person, and pet for your household. Make sure you have plenty of flashlights and batteries, portable chargers as well. So I'm definitely making my checklist, and I'm actually going after work today to stock up on some items.
I love to hear that. And I know that you have another report for us coming up at noon on winter weather prep. Make sure to have folks tune in here on ANF Plus to that. I'm going to let you go. As we continue to talk about weather prep, though, let's get into some of what the state is saying. Both City of Atlanta and state leadership urging people to make sure that they are listening out for updates and communication. Obviously, First Alert meteorologist Isaac Williams talked about making sure that you have our news and weather apps as resources so that you can get up to the minute information. But I wanted to share with you some of what the state is doing, primarily words from Governor Brian Kemp as they get closer and closer to the weekend, that preparation happening now.
Georgia Department of Transportation crews are ready to roll. They spent the day preparing and are already pre-treating roads tonight in case of ice Friday. Crews have 21,000 miles to treat and will start on the interstates at 7 a.m. tomorrow.
We're asking for your cooperation. If you don't have to be out tomorrow, stay home and stay warm. And certainly on Friday morning, we ask that you not get out.
Obviously, with Christmas right around the corner and the rest of the holidays that are going on, weather is not of the forefront of people's minds.
But Governor Brian Kemp wants it to be, and he's declaring a state of emergency. He and state agency leaders gathered to put out a plea to prepare your home and your family and to have a plan in case we see power outages coupled with frigid temperatures.
Have your blankets out, your cold weather gear. If you've got some old winter jackets or some coats, go ahead and get those out now.
Director of the Georgia Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency, Chris Stallings, wants you to have 3 days worth of essentials ready to go and to stay hydrated. Don't forget batteries, flashlights, first aid kits, and medicine.
Never use a generator, camp stove, charcoal, or gas grill to heat your home. Unfortunately, that's going to happen, and we do not need that happening on our watch. We need you to be weather-wise.
If you're heading out of town for the holidays, make sure a neighbor has a key or a code for your house in case of a burst water pipe.
The state is ready. We're just challenging you now to make sure you're ready.
Megan Packer, Atlanta News First.
And the governor did take to social media earlier to talk about some of the winter preparation that the state is taking to keep you and your family safe. I want to share that with you now live here on Atlanta News First Plus.
Hey everybody, just wanted to give you a quick update on the potential winter weather we have coming in this weekend. Looks like we're going to get another storm. Still early, but looks like it could potentially ice and be a little worse than the last storm we had. Hopefully that plays out and doesn't happen. But this is a good time to start preparing for this weekend should that happen. If you need batteries, food, gas in your vehicles and other things, just got plenty of time. Be winter weather aware. Know that we'll be messaging the rest of the week, working with our state and federal partners on the weather forecast. And as always, our state team will be pre-treating and preparing for the worst and hoping for the best. But just want to remind everybody to go out, be winter weather prepared, and we'll keep you posted on how things are going.
Yeah, important message there from the governor. Let me just change my graphics over as we continue to talk about this. The main point is rain, sleet, snow, ice. They're all possible, but the biggest threat right now is the ice, and that is what we are looking at closely. We are talking about the potential for crippled roads and long-standing loss of power. The city and the state really cannot underscore enough the importance of making sure that you are prepared and that you are following any updates that come from news organizations such as ourselves, as well as state and city leadership. I just want to share this from Deputy Commissioner of Atlanta DOT saying even minor shifts in the forecast will lead them to change their strategy. I apologize, my video got stuck there. So those updates are going to be continuous as we get into Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and even past Monday. We're talking about some of the repairs and that are going to happen as the weather conditions start to improve. And a lot of agencies already working with folks to get prepared for this, including nonprofits like the American Red Cross. We actually spoke with the American Red Cross, who shared tips on what to do in response to an emergency and how to connect with organizations such as themselves when you find yourself in need of help.
Right. People are getting concerned right now, heading out. What do they need to know as far as ways to prepare?
I think the biggest thing is just monitor, pay attention, watch your local news, find out what the meteorologists are saying, and take seriously when they say there's the threat of winter weather. That's the time to start preparing. So you can get yourself and your family ready. You can make sure that all your electronic devices, they're fully charged, you have backup batteries, you know how you're going to stay in touch with loved ones, and if the power goes out, are you going to be able to hunker down in your home for multiple days and have enough food and water? So there's lots of things that people can do to stay alert and also take action.
Okay, what do people need to have on hand? Say you're a family of 4. What should you have at your disposal going into a winter storm advisory like this?
You need to make sure you've got chargers for all your electronics, because so many people stay in tune with what's happening through their phones today. So make sure you've got backup batteries, make sure you've got flashlights on hand in case you lose electricity. Make sure you've got enough food for all your family members, and don't forget your pets as well. Got to take care of your furry friends too.
Okay, and when it comes to food, what kind of food is good to keep on hand?
So things that aren't going to spoil. In case you lose electricity, the refrigerator goes out, you don't have power. What are those, shelf-stable things, non-perishable foods? Think, canned goods, things that come in, boxed goods, etc. So think of those kinds of foods too, if you feel you need to stock up on things.
All right, and when it comes to water, what's the formula? How much do you need per person per day?
Cut that one. Can you cut that?
So what is the biggest mistake people make? What is something that they don't have on hand because they think maybe they have some already at their house, or maybe they just don't buy enough?
I think the biggest mistake is not taking the weather seriously. And when you start to hear that, it's approaching Georgia, they don't think about it. So you really need to make sure, we don't want to rush on the grocery stores, but you got to think about, what do I need for, say, the next 72 hours, just in case I'm home. So think about the food, the water, the battery backup, the flashlights. Get those essentials in your home so you're prepared. And if we don't face winter weather, you still were prepared. So that's a good step to take.
And find a friend with a whole house generator.
That's true, you can. Just be really careful when you use different heating sources. So make sure that generator stays outside. Keep any, if you use a fireplace or a space heater, make sure everything's, 3 feet away from anything, because we don't want to see an increase in home fires when folks got creative making sure their home was heated.
What is a safe way to heat yourself inside your home?
You really want to layer up. So in case the power goes out, make sure you've got not just your clothes, blankets, think of the different things. You can use a space heater, but make sure it's not close to anything.
And at what point do people think about checking into a hotel?
I think it really depends on what they're hearing for their particular area and their neighborhood. But if they think that the power is going to be out for an extended amount of time, that may be a consideration if they've got the resources to do that. Also, several of the counties in the metro area open up warming centers, and that could be another place for folks to go to as well.
So if you don't have a situation where you'll be able to be warm enough in your
And I do apologize. Looks like that audio did get cut. So I just want to recap some of what that interview entailed again. The American Red Cross urging you, as much as you can, prepare starting now. Don't wait until Friday. You're going to want to go to get those non-perishables, going to want to get extra batteries, things of that nature. You're talking about a possible power outage that could last over 24 hours. So you can imagine food going bad. You can imagine it getting very cold. And if you have those financial resources, make sure that you are accessing those resources. But if you don't, there are nonprofits like the American Red Cross, like Hope Atlanta, that are giving away winter wear and other things that you might need for the weekend. I do see some of your YouTube comments right now. Keep those coming. We are going to be doing these updates both at 11 a.m., 1 p.m., and 7:30 p.m., and we will answer every last one of them if they don't get answered this morning. I do also want to push everybody to our text option. You can text the word weather to 470-777-9263. Send your questions over there. We will give you a link to all of the information and all of the latest updates of what we're following, and of course get back to you on your message. That goes directly to our team here at Atlanta News First. So we are monitoring these. Is a great way to connect with us. If you have photos over this weekend of weather in your area, please send that our way as well. We'd love to show those. Make sure that everybody is getting the word out. And like I mentioned, one of the winter preparations that are going on is folks going to the grocery store, and a lot of nonprofits that are working to get folks non-perishables if they are not able to pick them up themselves. So we did talk to another food bank that is stepping up now to make sure that those that don't have access to non-perishables can make sure that they are also set up for the weekend.
And can you tell us where we are as well?
Sure. I'm the executive director of the Midtown Assistance Center. We're an organization that supports families by preventing hunger and homelessness.
Well, thank you so much for meeting with us and taking the time today. We are talking about what we are anticipating to potentially be a historic winter storm rolling in this weekend. We know that we can talk preps going to the grocery store, buying all this food. Sometimes people panic buy, but what about folks who are dealing with food insecurity? I would assume getting ready for severe weather could be difficult for them. Can you talk to us about what you typically see when we have severe weather rolling in and how families can be affected by that?
Right. I mean, just like anybody else, people want to be prepared. They want to have enough food to tide their family over for however many days the storm is anticipated for lasting. And so people that are already struggling to put food on the table, that do rely upon food pantries, the idea that roads will be impassable potentially and people won't be able to get to the grocery store, or food pantries that they may rely upon to supplement their family household's food.
Now, when it's kind of getting to the point where the news is doing a little bit more coverage about this, there's talk about it on social media, people start to realize that storms might be a big deal. Do you typically see the phone ringing more people knocking on the door for assistance? What do you typically see?
We do get more people contacting us. They want to know if we're adding more appointments because they're trying to do the same thing. They would rely upon MAC versus necessarily being able to go to the grocery store if they don't have funds to purchase food. And then also concerned about, what will it look like next week if they've already scheduled appointments, because we're scheduling appointments tomorrow, but also we've got appointments scheduled for next week.
Do you think that you might have to potentially shut down next week if this continues into Monday, kind of how it's forecasted to, or will you try to keep the doors open?
So safety for our staff, volunteers, and the people we serve is always top priority for us. So if the roads are impassable, it will be difficult for our volunteers and our team to get here. We usually follow Georgia Tech. If Georgia Tech closes to their employees, then we know that the roads around our organization are probably impassable. And you also don't want people slipping and falling, even if they're not driving a vehicle, if they're on the sidewalks and they're walking. And the majority of the people that come to visit us are heavily reliant upon MARTA, so they're walking with their groceries, or maybe they have a shopping cart or a wagon where they're pulling or pushing their groceries, and so you want people to be safe.
That's really good. And last time we were here, we were talking a lot about SNAP. We were talking about food insecurity during the government shutdown. It's been a while since then. The government's back up and running. But there are changes, too, that are happening to SNAP in Georgia. Do you have any comment that you'd like to say about that and how it might be affecting the families that you all serve as well?
Well, it's great that people are now receiving their SNAP benefits, but now there are restrictions and requirements for some folks that are not working. They have to either be working or volunteering a certain amount of time in order to receive their benefits. The need hasn't changed. People still need help with food. The SNAP benefits amount didn't increase, and so we know how much inflation and the cost of food has drastically gone up this past 12 months, and so the need for food is still as great as it was when we talked back in the fall. Just fortunately, some people have access to their SNAP benefits, but there are a lot of people who the threshold for SNAP benefits can be really income thresholds low. So there's a lot of people that work full time and they're struggling. They're living paycheck to paycheck, but they're just above that threshold.
Right.
And they don't receive SNAP benefits, but they still don't have enough income to support all their household's needs.
So they're in that kind of weird purgatory situation
Yes.
where they're not able to get the resources, though you can see and they can see that they need them.
Yes, there's a lot of people that they make too much for SNAP, even though they're low-wage workers.
Would you mind walking us around a little bit and
Sure.
telling us, like, around the time where we have severe winter weather, or what are the staples that people reach for and rely on when they come in for their shopping appointments and want to reach for their families? Do you
Right.
mind pointing
Well, and
out?
I think one of the things that we keep in mind is that if you lose power, you want to have things that are easy to prepare.
Right.
And so peanut butter and jelly, we have perishable items, but bread, deli meat, and things for making easy and fast sandwiches, things with peel top, things that are easy to prepare. But then also your staples, things that are a little bit heartier, proteins and soups and things that are easy to prepare quickly for a household. Hopefully there won't be lots of power outages so people aren't able to cook, but that is something to consider.
I think that we will see, even in the grocery stores, folks reaching for those same items to try to make sure they have something that they can open up and cook.
Right.
Because it's a possibility with ice, you could see power outages.
That's what they're saying, so yeah. We'll try to make sure that people have a little bit more, the ones that are coming in this week. We've been trying to keep our pantry really well stocked so that we can meet the need.
Well, anything else that you'd like to share about your food supply, or how folks can help you out, and if you just want to
Yeah.
add that in.
Well, it takes a village, and the village is a community, so supporting your neighbors in need is really important. Look for organizations like MAC that have food pantries and see where you can support either through a monetary contribution or a donation of food and canned items. But just look and see which neighbors are going to need support over the next week and try to all come together and support one another.
Yeah, very important advice there. Check on your neighbors. If you are in a community where you know a neighbor's going to be out of town, consider asking them for a spare key so that you can watch after each other. Especially if you have any elderly, make sure that they get their medications today and anything else they might need, because you never know when travel can become unsafe. Now, speaking of travel, we've been talking about the home, preparing yourself. What about preparing your car? Very important, because you might find yourself in need of travel or stuck in a winter system as you are actively in your car. And so for that, I want to bring in our Atlanta News First consumer investigator, Better Call Harry, with some tips on car prep for this weekend.
If winter weather damages your car, are you protected? Georgia requires liability insurance coverage to cover the other driver's damages. And if that's the only coverage you have, it's not enough.
Let's break down the difference, because there are lots of options. There's liability, uninsured drivers, bodily injury, property damage, collision, and comprehensive. In Atlanta, you need all of them, but lots of drivers pick and choose to save money. If we get another Ice-mageddon like the one in 2014, you shouldn't drive. But if you do, bodily injury coverage could save you tens of thousands of dollars if you end up in the ER. Here's what could happen.
$4,522 for a CT scan of your head, $5,300 for a CT scan of your spine, $4,900 for a scan of your thoracic spine without contrast material.
Years ago, we interviewed a car crash victim who spent 8 hours in the ER. She walked out with an $80,000 bill. Bodily injury coverage for an extra $50 a month could have paid up to $250,000 or more. Now let's switch to collision and comprehensive. They are separate, and having one but not the other makes a huge difference. If your car slides on the ice and hits a tree or another car, that's collision. You hit something. But if an icy branch falls and cracks your windshield, or a tree smashes your hood, it's covered under comprehensive. Something hit you. It's around $15 a month, but a lot of drivers skip it and regret it.
Do yourself a favor. If your auto insurance has an app, check your coverage and play with the numbers to see what you can afford. We have more tips on how to protect your car, home, and yourself during winter weather right now on AtlantaNewsFirst.com.
Can always count on Harry to make sure that you are prepared for the event and what might happen after. Again, one of the things that we want to make sure that you are checking now, as far as your car goes, check that battery, check your tires. Fluid is going to be a big one. Making sure that your wipers and headlines are in good condition. Any emergency gear is going to be life-saving. You want to have extra blankets, extra clothing, water jugs. Maybe go and get a gallon if you can, as well as things like kitty litter if you get stuck in snow, and other things that you might need if you find yourself in the elements, protecting yourself, protecting your vehicle. And of course, as Harry mentioned, we do have more resources for you on AtlantaNewsFirst.com. We are going to do these updates throughout the day, multiple times a day for you. Our Atlanta News First Alert meteorologist, Ella Dorsey, will be joining us here at 1 o'clock to give you another update of your forecast. She's going to go through your YouTube questions as well and make sure that those get addressed. So keep those coming. Again, you can text us at any time. You can text the word weather to 470-777-9263. If you text the word weather to us, we will send you a link to all of our coverage. You can also send us photos and questions and anything that you might need to help you and your family get ready for the winter. We got a lot more ahead in the coming days, so make sure that you have the Atlanta News First app downloaded on your phone, as well as the First Alert Weather app. Both of those fantastic tools to get you everything you need to know surrounding this winter weather system. Atlanta News First News at noon starts now.
Thank you for watching ANF Plus. For more breaking news, live coverage, and your community stories, download the Atlanta News First app. You can also watch us on YouTube, Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. To join the conversation on YouTube Live, visit our channel and hit subscribe. You can also listen to the Atlanta News First podcast by searching Atlanta News First on your preferred listening platform.